Hello, this is First Fire Non-Assault Move. Welcome back to the 60th episode in the War in the East series. Let's get a situation report. It's now the second week of January 1944. Yes, our last episode ended the first week of December 1943. We've advanced 5 weeks, which I said I was going to do a lot of the moves and attacks off camera, and then come back here and there with updates on the situation as we really are in the end state of the war in the East. 1944, the winter is closing out, and soon it's going to be spring, and then the German 1944 summer offensive will commence. Unfortunately, I OBS updated, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the audio. I did a sound check too. I'm almost positive I did a sound check. It didn't have the desktop audio input for my headset, so it didn't capture the attack sounds, which were kind of important to me, and it was kind of anticlimactic. So I disposed of that footage, and I apologize. There were two remaining hexes left of Moscow, and we attacked. The Germans attacked with a five attack hex surface. On each of those occasions to take the remaining hexes. The German flag is over Moscow, and our railroad engineers have been working night and day 24/7, and we now have a more robust logistic system out to the troops on the front. Look at that, all the way through Moscow. We have committed 4 of our manually controlled railroad engineers into this area. This is the critical area. As you can see, there's really no change over the past, I don't know, going on a year now along this from Moscow south, the very healthy network there. So all logistical assets have been really pushed to the north here where all the action is. So we took Moscow fairly handily, and during the course of taking Moscow, there wasn't room for all the German formations that we had built up to collapse the Moscow pocket. Intermittently, we pulled them off to get to the front, and it's mostly done. Well, 75% done. We still have infantry corps here, part of infantry corps here, which we've been using and abusing our railroad capacity to get our formations back to the front, and we just don't have enough to go around. So whatever infantry divisions could not follow their corps, we just attached them as army and army group reserves, which is the case right now with, I believe, 112th Infantry Division, and we got most of their 4th Panzer Army. It was the 57th, I believe. I moved up here. We're building up outside of Leningrad to get an attacking force to complement the main axis of advance here to the south, which we'll get to in a second. So yes, it's 56 Panzer Corps is now moving up to support all the efforts that are going to be taking place in and around Leningrad as the winter closes, and definitely once the mud season breaks and we switch over to the summer offensive. And we'll have more forces in this area by then, which will include, I don't think I'm going to rail. We have enough infantry now right here. We'll probably rail this infantry corps. It is the 6th Infantry Corps up to the Leningrad sector, and more than likely this infantry corps as well. We're more than likely going to conduct some brute force attacks like we did against Moscow once we have Leningrad encircled, and we have to take the city. And then finally, we will link up with the Finns. So let's talk about the main axis of advance. Over the course of the last 5 weeks, as we collapsed the Moscow pocket and took Moscow, we finally got the 2 Panzer Corps out of this salient. It was arduous going. They could move about 4 or 5 hexes at a time. Finally got them on access rails and some supply depots that were built up here, and now they have made their way over time. They're now healthy and supplied up into here. We have about 80%, well, probably 90% of our panzer forces in this region. We have 2 Panzer Corps down here that have done nothing really for the past 4 or 5 months, I think. Maybe, well, 2 or 3 months, as there's nothing to do. we're not attacking here, and this has just been a static front, and that's okay with me. We'll revisit this potentially in 1944, but Leningrad must fall, and it was all about taking Moscow, which we did, but that's in the past. Let's talk about future ops. So we have the bulk of our Panzer Arm all built up here. At one point, we had two axes of advance that were working in tandem, and we had a series of encirclements. We had one here, which we bit off a chunk of the Leningrad front, and then we had another smaller one, and then we had two more. No, I'm sorry, I'm losing track. One here, another one in this region, and then now this one here. So with that note, let's go and talk about losses. Destroyed units. We'll see that a couple turns back, the pockets I was talking about, there was 7 and then 14 and another 8. So we had some smaller pockets as we advanced. We didn't have the maneuverability, and the conditions were pretty appalling as supply was limited as well. So we couldn't race ahead. So we took some smaller chunks out of the Soviet field army in this region, and we are able to link up once we got all our Panzer Corps in line, and supporting infantry made their way up. We broke through and linked up with the German front here. It was a one-armed pincer movement. So we have a larger encirclement here. I haven't done any of the attacks yet. This is the beginning of this turn. Just wanted to get you a situation report. So these Soviets will be destroyed. If we look at the big picture, that places us very well in striking distance of linking up with the Finns, and I would say comfortably getting into position for 1944 and taking Leningrad. It's definitely in the cards for the Germans. The Soviets just don't have the forces available to resist this force we're throwing at them. And that's been the case really throughout as 1943 drew on. The destruction we inflicted on the Soviet field army, the Soviets can't really muster anything. What they've done here and there is attacked here and there. They're building up some of their own tank forces as we look here, and they're just attacking some of our weaker divisions or regiments that are in line to really to no avail. They're not any concerted attacks. It's just because they can. What was I gonna? Oh yeah, let's go back to the losses. Okay, so these are some of the results of the pockets, the smaller pockets, and it's been about like this for the past 4 or 5 weeks. During the course of the Soviets' turn, they have attacked here and there, and we've been under 10,000 casualties each time. Soviets likewise, because they really haven't been attacking. So let's look at the order of battle. And here the Germans are holding steady over the past, since the last video. They've probably inched up a couple thousand, maybe 10, 50,000 in this range. They haven't gone over the 430 range. They've been holding steady there. Our tank forces have grown, and I want to talk about that in a second. I want to show you something neat. Someone had mentioned in the comments about captured Soviet material, and we'll find out just how much we have captured with the Soviets. Also, 50,000 field pieces, and I'll compare that to only 75,000 Soviet field pieces. If you remember, I think they were up to 200,000. It was some absurd amount of Soviet field pieces, and they have been drastically reduced. Drastically. Soviet tank forces continue to grow. I joke about where are the Soviet tank forces, but we see them here and there along the front. They're not working in concert, and they just don't have the combat power remaining throughout their field army to do anything. And probably a lot of these tanks are just sitting on the factory floor, waiting to be shipped out. And the Soviets air force has grown, and they continue to bomb relentlessly during their turns. That's pretty much the bulk of their turns, is bombing German formations. And here we brought the Soviets down under 4 million, which was a milestone, and we are well above their manpower strength. They're 3,700,000. We are 4,300,000. That's fantastic. All right, so I mentioned the captured equipment. So let's take a look at that. Oh, it's throughout some of these panzer divisions. Let's look at 25th Panzer. It's pretty neat. Now that we're into 1944, we're starting to see some Panthers are making their way. Panzer 5s and the Panzer 4Hs. A lot of Marder 2s, 42. So it wasn't this one. I think it was 3rd Panzer. Yeah, there you go. All right. Ready for action are 71 T-34Ds. Yes, we have captured and encircled so much Soviet equipment. It's quite extraordinary. I think. Oh, I didn't. What was the Soviet tank losses? I forgot to point that out. But anyways, 71 71 T-34s are part of the German table of organization here for the 3rd Panzer Division. And there was a couple other Panzer divisions that had a healthy amount. Interesting, there's just 4Gs here, the 43 variant. Not all the Panzer divisions will be equal as far as getting the newer equipment, and there was only so many Panthers and Tigers to go around. Yeah, maybe there weren't that many, but I saw the ones that I looked at, they did have Panzer Ds, Panzer As, Panthers. Yeah, okay. Well, there's a couple. There were a couple that had the T-34s. Here we go. 99 T-34s. So that's interesting. So we definitely captured some Soviet tanks and are putting them into action against the Soviets. Very good main battle tank, still worthy, still can do the job. 1944, though, we're starting to get into the massive steel beasts that were fielded by both sides, but we do have some Soviet equipment to use against them. So here's our axis of advance. It's kind of moved to the west, actually. We started to go north, made some river crossings, and the Soviets built up here, and I didn't want to attack into this region. The goal was to encircle the Soviets where we could. The idea was to encircle the entire Soviet front or fronts that were present here and reach the Gulf of Finland and link up with the Finns. But in the process of these axes of advance, we're just encircling the Soviets where we can manage. And this is a fairly significant one. There's about 30 here. So these Panzer Corps here are regrouping. These Panzer divisions linked up, and we have some infantry that we can still attack and do some moves this turn, but I don't plan on doing much more than what's here other than destroying the Soviets and giving the Panzer divisions more rest to get some fuel and supplies and ammunition. I don't want to say I'm in no rush, but we are doing this methodically as the conditions and the terrain are pretty appalling. So we're just taking our time and being very efficient with the attacks and managing our supply situation. By February this time, maybe another 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. If we haven't reached the coast of Finland, I mean, we haven't reached the Finns and the Gulf of Finland. Well, I don't think that's the Gulf of Finland. I think this water body is here. If we haven't linked up with the Finns by then, I will be surprised. I'm pretty confident that we're going to, if not reach the coast, we will be very close to it before mud hits. So, looking further south, there's really not much to um, report from Rostov, really, to Moscow. It's just been a static front. Soviets have some airfields here they're built up, and they have some tank forces, but they're just lingering around, not really putting any concerted attacks against the Germans. As far as our own reinforcements, we have some sitting back here. It's just rail capacity. I just wanted to get the forces available to us that are already in the field uh, to relocate them, and then we'll start, when we have rail capacity available, we'll start bringing in reinforcements. We did, that's a new one. I hadn't seen that one. So 11th SS Panzer Grenadier Division, very strong. We did get a headquarters in. It's an SS headquarters. Where are you? Right here. 6 SS Panzer, 6 SS Corps came in because our own headquarters, Corps headquarters, are really strapped. We really need more headquarters, and I wish the game would allow us to spend admin points to create Corps headquarters. That would be a great feature. And if that's a feature at this point and I didn't see it, then oh well. I'll do it next time. Oh yes, and we also have another SS Panzer Corps coming in, so 2 new headquarters to help out with command and control, and they are going to be railed. Don't have the real capacity now. We have already drained it down to 1,300. So we do have reinforcements coming in, and we continue to destroy Soviet formations, so the tide obviously has turned, and that is a situation report. What we will continue to do is press on with this axis of advance. Soviets will throw formations to attempt to blunt our attack to the north. We'll finish off these Soviets here. It's going to free up even more German formations, and we're going to get some more of our forces to this region, and we'll start to attack, a concerted attack to the east here to take some pressure off these forces here. It's just a smattering of German Soviet formations that are just being thrown in. They just take time to attack and push back. A lot of the times they are routed though, and I don't think any more encirclements are in the cards except maybe here where we've kind of invited the Soviets to move west with this tank and cavalry force to the west of Novograd. Maybe we'll catch them. I was surprised that the Soviets didn't pull back because the writing was on the wall for, it was shaping up. It was pretty obvious what the Germans were doing. And the Soviets, geez, for the better part of a year, year and a half, they were very aware of what the Germans were trying to do. At least it seemed that way, and they would retreat fairly rapidly when we were trying to do encirclements. At least seemed that way here and there, but potentially it wasn't that way with Moscow. No, they weren't going to give up Moscow, so they stayed in place far too long, and we were able to get the Moscow pocket going. Yeah, probably just this grouping of Soviet formations will be able to encircle if they remain. If not, we're just going to literally brute force our way here to get up abreast of Leningrad and take Leningrad in 1944. And that should do it for the sitrep. Partisans, just dealing with them. Railroad network is fairly healthy. We looked at that. Check it out again here with grander view. Partisans here and there will plop in, and there's a technique. It's a useful technique. I have a handful of independent regiments that will sit on rails, and if they can't reach the partisans over land, I just put them on the rail them up adjacent to the partisans, and then detrain them. And once they are detrained because they are adjacent to the partisan is removed. So that's cute little way of getting rid of partisans in the far reaches where it's just too far to walk or drive. We get the partisan hunters on the trains and go get them that way. And that should do it. It's for the sitrep. Uh, Again, Leningrad's in the works. We'll continue to press on, and the next sitrep will probably find the Germans, if not at the coast, very close to it, and we'll get a new sitrep at that point. All right, I hope you enjoyed watching. This is First Fire, and on a Move out.